And that leads me to the lawsuit by Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron against Candace Owens. So Candace will have a measure of protection. She's being sued for defamation by the First Lady and President of France because she has said that Brigitte Macron is actually a man who's posing as a female and posing as, you know, having been a female for years, and that she has a penis, to put it bluntly. And this, I could be wrong, but it's definitely a comment on a public figure and more of a measure of private behavior. You could argue it's a big fraud on the people of France. I don't know. But still, there will be a very, very high standard either way for the Macrons to win on a defamation case against Candace Owens. They say that they sent her a letter in December saying, you better take down those claims. We are warning you. And that they sent her Brigitte Macron's birth certificate, which is attached. It's reprinted in the complaint. It does show a little girl named Brigitte, whatever the maiden name was, I don't have it in front of me, was born on such and such a date in the 1950s. And it's got like the actual birth announcement and other proof, including pictures of a young Brigitte. Brigitte, they say her last name is Trogneau. That's her maiden name. And in French, it says that her brothers and sisters welcome their little sister in Amiens, France, on looks like 1st of December. Anyway, she's now got to defend this. And Candace Owens is saying, I look forward to it. Great. And she's saying, for the first time, I'll get to sit across from Brigitte Macron at a deposition and hear her asked about her penis. That's what Candace's I think that's a direct quote. And it's never happened before. So she's not backing down one bit. And it is reckless for the Macrons to sue Candace Owens for defamation if this is true, right? It's somewhat reckless for them to do it because Candace is not wrong. She will get the chance to ask those questions through her lawyer directly to the First Lady of France, Arthur. So what is really going on here, and how do you like the Macrons' chances?
It's nuts.
It's pardon the pun.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the truth is an absolute defense, right? And that's the law, right? So this is not a hard case to prove or disprove. It's a matter of you can actually get there. In other words, you get a judge to rule at some point, you know, what anatomy is attached to the body. But I would say if there is a birth certificate that was sent to Miss Owens that shows a girl born, I think you said on my birthday, December the 1st.
A birth announcement.
You know, birth announcement. Okay. Well, okay, that's a little different. That is a little different. A birth announcement is different than an officially stamped. I mean, I don't know how they do it in France, but you know,
maybe she has a birth certificate too that she'll produce. I don't know, but so far,
well, okay, a birth certificate with a raised seal, and you're saying, what are you talking about? Here's my birth certificate. I'm a girl, and Candace is still doing this. She's on notice. She's not only is she on notice.
But wait, let me ask you something.
She's got
in
evidence.
Candace's defense, what she says, I think she said a few different things about this, but what she has alternatively posited that perhaps there was a Brigitte Macron that was born on that date and that she lived and that she may have died and said, do we have this on tape, Deb? And said, I will allow my brother, because I think her one of her theories is that it's Brigitte's brother posing as Brigitte, and that maybe Brigitte died and allowed her brother, who wanted to be a woman, to assume her identity. Here's Candace in SOT 6. This is after the lawsuit was filed. And so at this point, she's definitely seen the birth announcement. If I said certificate, I misspoke. Here's that in SOT 6.
I do believe that Brigitte Trogneau, the real Brigitte Trogneau, existed. It's plausible that Brigitte Trogneau got sick, that the real Brigitte Trogneau got sick and perhaps had a dying wish to help her brother, Jean-Michel Trogneau, who was living perhaps as Veronique, right? And knowing that, okay, well, he's never going to be allowed to live his life authentically. He's always going to be always going to be hiding and doing these sorts of things, because this is just not a time where people are recognizing this transgendered identity. Well, what if she gifted her brother her identity? Here, this is not a thing yet. You can just become me. Okay, that's, again, we're surmising there's no evidence that Brigitte Trogneau died. There's no evidence of that. But that's what it feels like to me. It feels like to me that Brigitte Trogneau did her brother, the real Brigitte Trogneau, did her brother a favor and allowed him to become her.
Wow. I mean, wow.
I'm working on it. Working on it.
Good luck with that. She's so close to the line, if not over it. It's one thing to just say someone looks like a man. Okay, that's protected. Offensive, but protected. It's another thing to say, maybe this happened, maybe that happened. She's reporting something and she's coming out with a statement and then trying to come up with some theory to back it up. In one respect, again, it doesn't have to be true. What she's saying doesn't have to be true. It just has to be not a reckless disregard of the truth. So if she's got theories to back it up, then okay. But if that's the best she's got, it seems completely half-cocked. Again, pun intended.
Well, that's her rebuttal. Her case in chief, and I confess I haven't watched any of this. I have more important things to do than worry about Brigitte Macron. But my producers watched it, and they did tell me, and they have nothing against Candace, but they did say that it's thin and it's disjointed and it's hard to follow at times, and it sounds a lot like conspiracy. Some of the conspiracies that we've criticized in the past have come true. That I don't know whether this will be one of them, but I don't totally get, like, she is positing that Brigitte is a man, and if Brigitte is a man, if Brigitte's a man, then she's always been a man, or she, yes, possibly was a woman who died and gave her identity to somebody. If she's always been a man, why is there a birth announcement, right, showing that a Brigitte was born on such and such a date? There are pictures of Brigitte when she's a child. Candace still claims that child is not Brigitte, that it's somehow Brigitte's brother, who is Brigitte in the photos. And yet the problem for this theory is that the brother is still alive. The brother was at Emmanuel Macron's swearing-in ceremonies, both of them, and pictured in at least one picture with Brigitte Macron. So, like, the brother who she's claiming has assumed Brigitte's identity because he was so dying to be trans is alive and well. There he is. He's the bald guy back there. He took over the family's chocolate confectioner business. And so that doesn't really jive. But it doesn't, look, we don't have to fully buy into this or not to do good legal analysis on it. And what they're going to have to prove, Arthur, is that Candace knew it was false or recklessly disregarded that it appeared to be false. And I will say this in her defense. I believe she's a true believer. I do not believe she knows this is false. Reckless disregard is going to be the interesting question.
I totally agree with you. And my interaction with Candace hasn't been too deep, but deep enough where, I mean, she did a whole thing on Harvey Weinstein, right? So we were involved with that, and I'd spoken to her several times, and she got it all right. I mean, and even things that I didn't want her, like, weren't that helpful for Mr. Weinstein, like, she still reported on things accurately. So on that limited exposure that I had to her and her reporting, she dug deep, and she was very thorough, and she was very ethical and honest in that particular scenario. I don't know enough about this, but I don't think she's reckless with herself and her family that she's going to just make I mean, she knows what these laws are. She was put on notice. So if she was really, playing with fire, when you're put on notice months ago, like, hey, don't do this, and here's proof, and she still disregarded that, she must have something, as you just said, that she believes she's holding on to that makes sense, that will clear her in any lawsuit.
Well, here's to that point. The lawyers who are representing the Macrons are like the defamation lawyers. They do plaintiff's defamation cases for a living, Claire Locke. And they're two very well-known, very well-respected lawyers. And it's a husband-wife team. And the husband, Tom Clare, went on with Jake Tapper right after they filed this case against Candace. And here's how that went, Sadi.
How much money do you want, and do you want her to apologize?
Well, we'd love an apology, of course. A court can't order her to apologize, and based on her conduct, especially today, we don't expect her to do anything other than double down. We'll put forward our damage claim at trial, but if she continues to double down between now and the time of trial, it'll be a substantial award.
Okay, sorry. That was one, but we needed the other one. SOT 7.
I don't know what she knows to be true or not. She says a lot of lies. How do you know that she's lying as opposed to a deeply disturbed individual? Well, it could be both, of course.
It's one of the reasons why our complaint is 219 pages long. We wanted to lay out exactly that. We wanted to explain to the court, and we wanted to explain to the people that will see our lawsuit how we can prove that she knows it's false. And we have put this information directly in front of her. Even if you want to give her a pass for the early crazy stuff that she said, after we put facts and information in front of her, black and white, multiple times.
What? Like the First Lady's birth certificate? Like what kind of facts?
Yeah, we have laid out extensive evidence in our complaint demonstrating that she was born a woman, she's always been a woman, and the allegations of CIA control conspiracy and the incest and all the other things are demonstrably false.
This is the complaint. It is huge. And it does have pictures of Brigitte Macron through childhood, and it's got all the things that we've been talking about. And their point is this was all given to Candace before they filed the lawsuit in this December retraction demand. And she didn't. And I think the reason she didn't, I think the worst case scenario for Candace is she didn't because she doesn't believe that. Okay. So is that defamation? You know, Mark, like she rejected it. And let's go the nastiest like possible interpretation of what she's done. She's a conspiracy theorist who got twisted up on this Macron thing, and it's not true, and she refuses to see reason. I'm not sure that's reckless disregard. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario for Candace is it's true when these people are lying about it because they don't want to be humiliated.
Tepper makes a good point. If she's, and I don't know her like Arthur does, I don't know her at all. Let's say she's a little wacky. Let's say she's a little off, right? And beats to her own drum. Again, that's going to help her. If she doesn't know it to be false, like they're claiming. I mean, the plaintiffs came out there on his show and said, we believe we can prove she knew it to be false. Wow. But let's go to the second tier. A reckless
He's not going to be able to do
truth.
that.
Well, it's amazing that he, listen, if I'm an attorney,
if he's got
I don't go to the
an
highest
audio
tier.
tape, it'd have to be an audio tape of her being like, I know it's not true. I'm just doing it for ratings.
Right. But the key is whether it's a reckless disregard, and the fact that she's eccentric, a little wacky, whatever that is, I believe can help her.
Yeah, I think I'm saying this is the worst case scenario for
I don't know anything
Candace.
about her.
But I will say this, Delaware federal court is not great for her. I've spoken to a bunch of defamation attorneys, and most of them say this is not ideal for her. There will be a question about whether the Macrons want to see this thing through to trial. I feel like she probably will. And it's tough. I'll tell you, just as a media personality, it's tough to get insurance for defamation.
I was going to ask you that question. I was going to ask you that question. Can you get insurance?
Yeah, she's got skin in this game, no question. And I'm sure she has to consider, the effect this would have on her family. And just
curious, you think these
it helps me believe she believes
lawyers? You think just curious, plaintiffs' lawyers, you think they're being paid hourly or they're doing this on a retainer, meaning they have a vested interest in how much money they're going to get out of this, or they're being paid hourly? It's probably
I bet they're getting paid hourly. I get they're
getting
paid hourly.
I know.
But these two are no joke, so you'd have to be a little concerned.